Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Rishab. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Struxsoft Solutions, now part of the Great Tech Group. And joining me today is Poojan, our software application specialist, who will walk us through how to configure your project settings in MWF. MWF, which stands for Metalwood Framer, is our flagship software that helps you automate and enhance the modeling and manufacturing of your timber and light gauge steel framing right inside the Autodesk Revit environment. Now, moving on to the webinar itself, please feel free to ask any questions that you may have during this presentation by typing them into the questions tab of the webinar dashboard, and we shall answer the questions once the presentation has been completed. If you would prefer to ask your question verbally instead of typing it in, feel free to do so once again after the presentation has been completed. In the GoToWebinar dashboard interface, you can raise your hand so that one of us may unmute you. Also, please make sure that your mic is working correctly. Finally, you can view this webinar on demand by accessing it on our YouTube channel or our social media accounts on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook by 5:30 p.m. EST or the end of the day today. And that's it from me. I do hope you enjoy the webinar. Now I'll let Poojan take it over from here.
Thank you, Rishabh. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing fine. Today, we're going to talk about how to configure project settings in MWF. I'm using Revit 2022, and I'm using MWF Pro Suite with our latest build, which is 7991. And today, we're going to talk about the settings tab on our wall module, in which we have a couple of features on wall modeling based on wall modeling. So let's jump right into it. So as you can see in the wall module, in the wall setup area, you can find this settings tab. If you click on it, you will see a couple of features, and we're just going to go through it. So first is load data. Load data is basically you're just loading different kind of templates, markers, families into your project. Many features of MWF require the current project to be first initialized with default data. So some of the features cannot work properly if your data is not there, or maybe some of the markers, for example, some of the templates won't show if you haven't loaded the data. So it's important to load data according to your which directory you would like to go with. So in load data, you would see there are two options. One is root directory, and the other one's the directory that you're wishing to load data for. So if you just press on directory, you would have two different options. One is LGS, and the other one is wood. Specify which data directory you need to access, and for light gauge steel, it's LGS, and for the wood is wood default. I'm just gonna go with LGS today. So you just click on it and you just press hit OK. Since I've already loaded data in this project, I don't need to, but you can just do it by you can just do it with that. I'm just gonna cancel it out for now. So that's how you load data in order to see all the markers, templates, and families in your project. So that's it. Let's move on to project panel names. Project panel name is usually how you can see the panel labels of your panel. If I click into this, you can see we have displayed panel name, and you have a couple of options. First would be alternate, second would be normal. In normal, it's just a prefix and the number of the panel. It's just going to be the sequences, excuse me, like panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Then we have normal with positioning and positioning only. So let me show you how alternate works. So I'm just going to click on alternate. So now if I do any modification with this panel, and if I hit regenerate, instead of panel 58, it would show me the alternate name. And in order to do that, so just go to the project panel names, select alternate as I just did. Now select the panel, and you need to go to the properties. In properties, you would see there should be an option under general info tab. It should say alternate name. For this webinar test purpose, I'm just gonna call it test. I'm gonna hit OK. So as you can see, since our project panel name is assigned to alternate, it would showcase whatever name I assigned it to the panel inside the properties. So now as you can see, it's test. So that is the option alternate. And if I go back to the project panel names here, normal as I mentioned, and it's just going to be a prefix with the number. Normal with positioning, it's going to that option will use the normal configuration and assign the positioning number given to the panel, and positioning only is just the option that will only show the positioning number assigned to the panel. So that is the different way you can name the panel. You can show you can display the panel name. So that's that. Moving on with the project detail callout. Project detail callout is basically used in order to associate the drawing section of headers to your opening markers. And in order to do that, we'll go back again to the project detail callouts. This pop-up will show up, and here you can create a detail type. This was I've created just for the test, but for this webinar, I'm just going to create a brand new one, and we'll name it test. uh, we'll hit OK. You have a couple of more features in which you can just remove the detail, you can rename the detail, and you can export as well as import the detail. So this will be for your DWG detail. So right now I've just created a test, a brand new detail. Now in information, you have a couple of options in which you can import type. It's going to be DWG. Then you need to assign the path. I've already created a small little detail in AutoCAD. So this is my file. I'm just gonna click open. So now it has the path. You have color mode option. You have preserved, inverted, and black and white. I'm just gonna go with preserved for now, and the scale factor I'm gonna leave it as 0 as well. I'm just gonna hit OK. We're gonna come back here and we're gonna go to the marker manager. And in marker manager, we're gonna go to the LGS default non-bearing. Here we're gonna go bearing beam. Excuse me. In the bearing beam option, you just need to check the add bearing beam, and you can see the detail reference ID over here. As you would open that, you would see our two of our newly created details. And you need to assign test since we just created the test. So once that's done, I'm just gonna hit OK. It will ask me if I want to update one instant to this marker. I'm just gonna say yes, and I'm just gonna hit OK again. Just gonna go to the 3D view. Just gonna add a small little window to the project. Select the opening, and I'm gonna apply the opening type. And here we're just gonna go with the default non-bearing and hit OK. And we just need to regenerate the panel, and that's it. So as you can see, our panel is now ready. So I'm just gonna go back, and now we just need to set up the, we just need to create a shop drawing. In order to do that, we need to open the wall drawings manager in the drawing operation setting. In the default, you just need to double click on that. And here you have a couple of options. You can basically set up your whole shop drawing settings here. So we're gonna start with the view options. So as soon as I have details view here, usually it's not there, so I'm just gonna get rid of it for now. And we're just gonna create a new detail view in which you need to just click on the plus, which is the add new feature, and you can just go to the details and hit OK. It will ask the view settings name. We're just gonna call it details 1. We're just gonna hit OK. And as you can see, our new view option would be here. If I double click it, I can modify it even more. I'm just gonna make it fine. Style, I'm gonna make it shading, and I'm just gonna give it a scale, and we're ready to go. And in the sheet layout properties, I'm gonna go and assign our newly created detail view to the top. And I believe that's it. Just gonna set and hit OK. So since our shop drawing is now all set, just gonna go here select the panel, and hit the shop drawing. So as you can see, it would bring out the callout, and if I go to the shop drawing, as you can, I know it's out of scale, but it's just for the demonstration purpose. As you can see, the detail callout will get created on the top of as we assign it to the shop drawing, and that's how you can do it. So this feature is really useful if you're in order to associate your drawing section to the header of the member. So that's that. So I'm just gonna exit out. So that's how you do project detail callouts. Moving on, next is project member priorities. When two or more members of the panel are clashing with each other, the member priorities decide which member gets deleted based on their importance. Uh, by default in MWF, this is our global settings, which means join members would get prioritized over door members, and door members would get prioritized on top of window members, and so on and so on. This is like the global settings that you would get in priorities. You can change the importance of certain members, as you can see. So in order to uh, do that, as you can see here, I have a wall intersection, I have a join, and as you can see, the members are colliding with each other because the door is really close with the join. So and it doesn't really look right. So in order to avoid that, we're gonna use that feature. So we'll just go back to the project member priorities. And in here, I believe you guys have to check the option override priorities. Since you once you do that, you'll have this window open in which you can see. So in which I want to prioritize my door members over my join members, right? So I would just click on my door members and I'll move it upwards. So now my door members would get prioritized. They would have more important over my join members. So once I do that, I'm just gonna go hit OK. I'm gonna select the panel and I'm gonna hit regenerate. So now what it would do is it would prioritize my door member and it will create the join accordingly instead of clashing with two members. Um, and that's how it works basically. Also, you have a small little other feature on the same tab, which would disable the clashes between two members. You would have two members, and if there's a chance of clashing them, you can disable them and save some time, in which you can do either headers and sill, and you can add them. It could be sills and tracks. You can combine and you can add them, you can remove them, and you can just hit OK, and it would work. It would work perfectly. So that's how you do project member priorities. You can set them up according to your use, and it could save you some time. Moving on, the next feature would be project material scheme. Project material scheme usually provides uh, different color to different stud members and different members of the panel. You can assign them different colors and surface pattern so they would stand out more. In order to do that, you just need to identify what stud members you have in your panels. So for example, in this wall, if I can see, I have 600S as my studs in this wall. So I can just go to the project material scheme. You have option to add, remove, and delete. So I'm just gonna add a brand new type name in which I can just assign my stud members, which is 600S, and I'm just gonna assign them any color. And if you want, you can assign them any pattern as well. So now my 600S has aqua color and cross hatch as surface pattern, and you would want to turn on the apply scheme during panel regeneration or creation, and you would just want to hit OK. What does that mean? Every time now you would select the panel and regenerate, and it would show the same color and surface pattern as assigned in the project material scheme. So I'm just gonna go to the 3D view, and as you can see, it has a blue color and the surface pattern would be the crosshatch. and that's how you can configure. That's how you can differentiate different members by assigning them different colors and surface patterns. So that's how you use project material scheme. Moving on, we have subassembly catalogs as the new feature. And in subassembly catalogs, it basically manages and creates subassemblies. You can create catalogs and groups for subassemblies for naming conventions of packs of studs. Subassembly group names can be called out in shop drawings, Revit schedule, etc., etc. And I'll show you how to do it. So when you click on subassembly catalogs, you would have out of the box you would have two default catalogs. One is literally named default, and the other one is system. Please mind the other two subassembly and test subassemblies. I've created them just for the test purposes, but out of the box you would get default and system. Default is generic built up, let's say stud packs, and the system is headers, tracks, kings, cripples, sills, etc. So for this webinar purpose, we're just gonna add a brand new one, and we're just gonna name it SSS1, and we're just gonna hit OK. So since our new catalog is been made, we're just gonna add a brand new one, and we're just gonna name it the same as well, and we're just gonna hit OK. So since we have our new subassembly, you can add an image to it, you can rename them, and you can type naming. We have another option, which is type naming, in which you can select different options. We have by instant names, we have a member schedule label and member position name. So you can select, and you can also leave a comment or a description about your subassembly as well. So we're just gonna X out here, and it would ask SSS1 has changed. Would you like to save it? We're just gonna say yes. Now we're just gonna go to the marker manager, and we're gonna go to the multi-system marker, in which, as you can see, you have header top of opening, header top of the panel, all the members, basic marker features. I'm gonna select the box header and choose the first option. And if I scroll down, you can see we have subassembly option here. I think for you it would be unchecked. Please make sure you check it, and you can just open the subassembly drawer, and you can just find our SSS1 right there, and you just need to hit OK. It would ask if you want to update two instances. You would say OK, OK. That's it. So we're just gonna go to the 3D view, and we're just gonna get rid of the project material scheme, because if we regenerate, it's gonna be aqua again. We're gonna select the opening. We're gonna go to the apply opening type, and multiple built-up member systems already selected, so that's not a problem. So and we're just gonna regenerate, so the subassembly has been updated. And once you regenerate, your subassembly has been created. In order to find them, we have another option, which is under output options in the wall manufacturer option, and you can just click on manage subassemblies. In order to do that, you need to select the panel first. It would show what subassemblies you have in that specific panel. So again, it's under the output and manage subassembly. As you can see, it would say is the panel 62. Configuration would be this. The type name, since we just went with the panel name, it's going to be the same, and you have the count as well. You can rename them, and you can get rid of them in this feature. So that's how you basically manage the subassembly in the feature called subassembly catalog. If I just exit the 3D view. Next up, we have lock unlock panels. This feature, you can find it under the settings as well. It's basically just as the name. It will lock the panel, unlock the panel, and you can view the lock status. In order to do it, you just need to select the panel. You can go to the settings and, excuse me, not that. and you can just lock the panel, and this pop-up will be there. You have two different features. One is full lock and the other one is framing lock. Framing lock will only lock the framing, so you can still make the changes to this wall, but you cannot just frame it. And the full log would be you cannot make any changes to the wall, as well as you cannot frame the wall. So we're just gonna go with full log, and you can enter a log comment as well, so others can see why someone locked this panel. For example, do not uh, create framing. We're just gonna hit OK. So as you can see, it has cross hatches as well. And if you would see this wall in 3D view, it's bright red, so you can see it's locked. And if you try to do anything, it's gonna show an error saying it's locked. So that's how you lock it. And this is useful when you're in shared work environment and you don't want someone to modify slash edit your wall. You can lock slash unlock your panels. You can view this status, as I mentioned, by clicking on this. So you can say it's panel number 63. It's locked by whoever's the user, and whoever leaves the comment essay, so you know they do not want to create any framing for this specific wall. So yeah, and in order to unlock, you could just select the same panel, go to settings and unlock panel. So now it's back unlock again, and you can create slash modify slash frame the wall. So that is how you use lock unlock and view lock status features. Moving on, next up we have project join heuristics. Project join heuristics um, uh, basically used in order to create different corner conditions for your walls. So if you open project join heuristics, this pop-up will show up. And as you can see, this is our global settings for all the joint condition, uh, which means basically if your wall has sloped edge, it has more priority than the shortest wall, and then the shortest wall has more priority than thickest wall, and so on and so on. As you can see, this is our global setting, so you cannot modify up and down. It's all grayed out. In order to do that, I'll just show you guys what is the default setting. So in here, as you can see, this is a short wall and this is a long wall. If I select both of the walls and if I go place join, as you can see, our default setting for the join heuristics would be the shortest wall on top of the longest wall. So this would be considered as the main wall, since the longest wall is below in the order. So that's why it would consider shortest wall as the main wall. But let's say if you want to make the longest wall as your main wall and not the shortest wall. In order to do that, we can click on project join heuristics. And here, as I mentioned, you cannot, everything's grayed out. You cannot modify the default settings. In order to do that, you just need to simply duplicate this. We'll just name it test one. We'll hit OK, and we're gonna export it. So click export, make a new folder, name it test one as well, and I want to use that folder and hit OK. Now what you want to do is you want to go back to the global settings, and you're gonna hit browse. As you can see, it would say if you want to change global heuristics, copy all heuristic files to another folder and click browse and point to this location. So we're just gonna do the exactly same. We're just gonna go to the browse, and we've created this folder. We're just gonna select it and hit OK. So now, as you can see, our duplicate is here, but I think we forgot to assign the longest wall. So we're gonna go back to the test. We're gonna hit the longest wall, and we're just gonna move it up. So now, as you guys can see, our longest wall is on top of our shortest wall. That means our longest wall will now be considered as the main wall. Uh, Not a problem. We're just gonna repeat the same steps again. We're gonna export our newly assigned heuristics, and we're gonna go back to the global, and we're gonna browse test one. Okay. So as you can see, now our longest wall is on top of our shortest wall, followed by thickest, tallest, and etc. You can add some of the more you can add some of the more new rules as well. Um, for example, you have get along with north-south axis, easternmost axis, the running wall. You could just select and press OK, and it would be added at the bottom, and as well as you can remove them, so you can play around with it. But for now, since our global settings are now changed to longest wall on top of shortest wall, we're just gonna hit OK, and we're just gonna repeat the same thing on our next join. So we're just gonna select both of them, place join, we're gonna pick our join definition, and just hit OK. So now as you can see, it would recognize the longest wall as the main wall and shortest wall as the secondary wall. So basically, this is how you can do project join heuristics when you have different corner condition, and this would save you some time as well. Moving on, our last feature would be global settings import/export. This feature is useful when you're working on a project. You can just export all the settings, as I can show you guys here. So I'm just gonna browse. I'm just gonna make a new folder saying this is webinar 2022. I'm just gonna hit OK. So if this is my project, I'm gonna export all of my current settings, which includes marker, templates, family, all the join conditions, all the auto join rule, and you name it. We're just gonna export all of them by clicking on export. Just gonna do it again. And it would say your export is complete. And when you open a new project, you can just go into the project, open MWF Pro Suite. You can go to the settings and you can come here and you can just simply go to the same folder, which was webinar 2022, I believe. And you can just open up the same settings and you can import them. I'm not going to import it because I already have the settings applied, but you can do it in your new project so you don't have to go through creating all the markers and templates and join conditions again and again. And that's how basically you can use the global settings import export tool. It's really useful. It would save you some time as well. So that is my time, guys. That's how you configure project settings while working on a brand new project to save some time in MWF. And thank you guys for listening. Back to you, Rishabh.
All right, Pujan, thank you for the presentation. And we'll now open the floor for any of your questions that you may have about this presentation. Once again, you can either raise your hand in the GoToWebinar dashboard or you can type it via the questions tab. And in the meantime, as we wait for your questions to come in, I'd like to invite you to visit our LinkedIn channel, where you can find regular company updates, educational content in the form of tech tips, blog posts on trending topics, and much more. And while you're there, please feel free to subscribe or follow our channel as well. You can also view the recorded version of this presentation on our YouTube and LinkedIn channels today by 5:30 p.m. EST. And we're just going to give a few more seconds to see if any last-minute questions pop in. All right, that looks like a wrap for today. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details will be provided along with the recording tomorrow via email. If you would like to have a one-on-one demonstration with one of our product experts, we will be happy to set that up for you as well. We will now be ending the webinar. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day ahead.